Hey guys, Christina here, and I thought I would talk a little bit today about how I met Anne McCaffrey, because as you saw in a previous video, she actually signed this dragon's butt. I had gone to visit Minneapolis back when I did this in '94, so this was 10 days before I got married that I had finished that page, and I didn't sign this one until the date that Anne actually had signed it. So the drawing was not complete until when she signed it, which was after I'd gotten married to my ex. Back then, I used to run a bulletin board system that you had to modem dial into called World War IV. And it was called Bend-and-Wear, and I actually still have the files from it somewhere, which I have to dig out. It was run by somebody who went by the moniker of Falar. Later, we had Falar and Sandra D, and he and Sandra D are still married. But we also had a partner bulletin board system, which was run on Citadel 86. I think it started on Citadel 84 by the name of Grayleen, run by another friend of mine that was using Grayman as his handle at the time. So with those two bulletin board systems, we had stories going as cross fanfic or whatever. It was a mix of Pern, it was a mix of Dungeons and Dragons. We would have something that would pull characters and, mainly characters from other worlds. And I guess we had the basis for the multiverse theory at the time, as far as if it was created in writing, then there was something to grasp onto. Like we had some characters that had actually come from Tolkien's realms and stuff like that. Sorry, I'm in Renaissance gear, so I'm jingling a little bit here. Anyway, Falar took me to a book signing near a store in Minneapolis. I don't know where it was. I mean, this was a long time ago, and I didn't live in Minneapolis at the time. I was still, at my parents' farm, and then had gone to a different town with my then husband. So we had gone to this book signing, and we stood outside for a while. Thankfully, it was a nice day. I remember it was a brick building. We were on this sidewalk with bushes on the other side of this metal fence and stuff, and it was just a really nice, pleasant area. And Anne was doing the signing outside the building, so she had a table and some of her books and stuff, and I brought The People of Pern and this sketchbook and a rock that I had painted a dragon on. Now, when I first started reading Anne back in middle school, I tried to read Dragonriders at Pern. Actually, I don't think it was that one. I think it was the second one in the series, and I was completely confused because our school only had the one book. And I couldn't get into it then. But by this point, Falar had let me borrow a copy of Dragonriders of Pern after I read one of her later Pern books, which I can't remember the title of now. It's in a box. But it had how they started breeding up the dragons in the first place. I can't remember if it was a World of Pern or what it was, but I had finally read through all of that, and what I had read earlier when I was 11 years old made sense. So I began reading more and more of her stuff at that point. So I had those two books with, and she signed The People of Pern first, and then I had given her the rock. It had a dragon sitting on a rock with the ocean waves coming up around it, and a castle in the background that the dragon was kind of roaring towards. years later, she told me she still had that rock on her mantle. So she was happy. She wanted to see the sketchbook, and when I showed her this dragon, she turns the page and then signs his butt. Now, Anne later on, I was working in Duluth, Minnesota, and working for a company that I had one guy that I would take care of for 16 hours at a time. We were often short of nurses, and if the weather got really, really bad, you were stuck, you know, you weren't leaving the town. So I was with this person quite a bit. And he's long gone now. He became a friend of mine. His name was Charlie. And he was a big Anne McCaffrey fan. And he had all of her books, which I inherited all of his books. He passed away when he was 50. So I told him one day that I had met Anne and what she did. And I showed him, you know, the sketchbook, and you know, we kind of went through it. And I said, oh, is it okay if I try and contact her and give her your information and all of this, you know, because by that point we did have HIPAA, which as a caregiver I'm supposed to protect the patient's privacy, so I was concerned about that. And this was the second time I'd run into this. After Charlie died, there was another thing where I had to deal with HIPAA and permissions and everything, but this time it was that I had her email, and I was going to try and see if she would start emailing him, because he was completely paralyzed. He could use his mouth and a straw or a stick or something for typing and all of that, and he could wiggle one finger, so he would do clicking with the mouse and typing with that one finger. And so he told me it was okay. So I did contact her, and I said, you know, I know it's been several years, but I have this friend that's in this condition. He's a big fan of yours. And I said, in case you don't remember me, because it's been so long, I said I had given you a painting of I had given you a rock that had a painting of a dragon on it. And she says, oh yeah, the one with the splashing waves, she says that one's still on my mantle. And I'm like, holy crap. You know, I didn't describe it to her, but she described it to me. And that's how I knew it was, you know, she wasn't just placating a fan. So she kept in contact with Charlie until he passed away. And, you know, it was a while later that she was gone too. But really, really special lady. And she had come to, actually one time she had logged in to Bend and Wear BBS and took a look at what we were doing there too, because she did keep a track of fan fiction, and there was certain things that she approved of and other things that she did not. She would keep very close eye on it, and so would her family. Ours, she was fine with, because we did have that mixture of fantasy in there, and we had developed our own lore and our own history and everything. And I had myself as a character, and had a gold wyvern named Tyrinth that had died in a massive battle against an enemy army. So that kind of struck everybody as really hard. And she was one who had commented on it too. And we had other people come visit too. LeVar Burton at one point had visited Grayling's side of the storytelling, because we crossed this between both BBSs. And a part of the deal was, at the time, was we were allowing children to also participate in the writing too, and we would critique each other's writing and storytelling and everything, but you had to handle your own character, and there was no nothing rated R or anything like that. It was not allowed. It was very tightly controlled. So yeah, she had heard of it and kept up on it for a bit and just make sure we were doing her work justice, and I guess we were. But yeah, she was a pretty incredible woman, and I am very, very happy that Falar took me to go meet her that day. This book is very special. I think more special to me than the People of Pern, even though I love the artwork in that book and everything. I have 2 copies of it, but, you know, it's my own sketchbook that her signature's in. So that's the story. Hope you guys enjoyed. Blessed be everyone. Take care, and I'm going to go back 500, 600 years in time. Have fun. Blessed be.